About a year ago, I made a video titled, "Should you buy the new 14-inch M1 MacBook Pro as a software engineer?" where I ran a couple of benchmarks for various programming languages. While the 14-inch MacBook Pro had just come out then, the Apple Silicon had been out already for about a year. So it was mostly compatible with all the popular languages and frameworks, either natively or via Rosetta. And it performed quite well in those benchmarks. And based on that, I recommended it as a buy. As of today, I've used the 14-inch M1 MacBook Pro for about a year as my primary machine for my coding, audio and video editing, as well as any other day-to-day task. And it goes without saying that it is one thing to run a few quick benchmarks, but another thing altogether to live with it for an entire year. So what do I think about this laptop after an entire year of usage? Do I still love it? Well, while I still love this thing, it hasn't been without issues. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the good and the bad of the 14-inch M1 MacBook Pro around overall performance, battery life, reliability, stability, and compatibility based on an entire year of use. All right, let's get started. I'm not going to run any new benchmarks in this video. There are plenty published already, and we know that it is fast. And since it's been a few years since the Apple Silicon has been around, almost any common application, runtime, or framework runs natively on it. What has been even more impressive to me is just how cold it stays through any workload you throw at it. I'll be honest, editing and rendering ProRes videos for this YouTube channel is probably far more taxing to this laptop than any coding I'll do on it. But even when rendering 15 to 20 minute ProRes videos with multiple layers and motion graphics, it barely even gets warm. Compared to some other laptops I've had in the past that get too hot to put on the lap just by having a few tabs open in Chrome. On top of that, I've never heard the fan turn on for an entire year of use. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, I not only give it top scores for performance, but also bonus points for getting top marks without even breaking a sweat. Okay, let's move on to battery life. If you're just coding without running any heavy emulations in the background, battery is exceptional. And I also love the fact that it also charges via USB-C. So most of the times I have it plugged it to my monitor via Thunderbolt, which not only charges the MacBook Pro, but also powers all my peripherals. Obviously, there are some activities that will drain your battery faster than some others, like watching videos, video conferencing, running a bunch of Docker containers in the background, or even video rendering. That being said, for the lighter of the taxing activities, you will notice a significant improvement in battery performance if you use Apple's native apps. For example, if you're watching YouTube, the battery does much better when using Safari compared to Edge or Chrome. Even with that said, the overall battery performance is solid, far better than the other two laptops I occasionally use, the Lenovo ThinkPad and the Surface Laptop 4. I keep misplacing my charger or leave it back in my office and only realize it a couple of days later because of how less I need to charge this thing. The one concern I have though is with battery degradation. In about a year, I've only had 74 battery charge cycles, but the battery capacity is already at around 88 to 92%, which I think is slightly greater fall in capacity than I was expecting. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But other than that, I've been impressed and happy with the battery performance. Next up is reliability. If you've used Apple products, you know that you have to pay the Apple tax, but that also means that the products are very well built and pretty reliable. And I don't have much to add to that narrative. It's built very well. I generally take good care of my products, but this has been subjected to a couple of minor drops and has been in a few trips through this year through varying temperatures and humidity, and it's held up just fine. And unlike some other previous MacBook Pros that had issues with their keyboards and whatnot, this has had none. The speakers still sound phenomenal and there are no dead spots in the screen. The one thing that's starting to see some wear is the USB-C ports. The space gray coating around the ports is starting to fade away, and the ports themselves feel a bit looser than they were when they were new. So if you do get one of these, be careful with the ports, especially if you're getting the newer black MacBook Air. But that's a very minor thing. Most people probably won't even notice it, and it works and functions just fine. So the next thing I want to talk about is compatibility. If you've watched my early review of the MacBook Pro 14, I had issues running Docker images that ran .NET services on them. The problem was that Docker uses QEMU to emulate a lot of .NET runtimes. I filed the bug on GitHub, and multiple others have supported fixing that bug, but it still exists. One solution is to build ARM images for all the services that use .NET. It's just a hassle for me to have to build those images by myself each time and to divert them from using the main registry over to an alternate one just for those select services. The point I'm making is that even though things have become a lot more compatible and stable, 2 years is still a relatively short period of time for a chip to mature, especially when you consider so many open source libraries that people use out there. So you might run into that odd case specific enough to you that makes it a bit more cumbersome for you to use this as your only dev machine. Just be prepared to do some extra steps or workarounds to mitigate some minor compatibility issues. In terms of hardware, if you're already in the Apple ecosystem, it is obviously seamless with their dedicated Edge chips. The Apple Watch will unlock the MacBook Pro if you set it up to. Accessories like the AirPods will connect effortlessly to your MacBook Pro when you put them on. But you aren't just limited to Apple products when it comes to experiencing effortless connection. I've been trying out Soundcore by Anker Space Q45 adaptive noise-canceling wireless headphones for the past month or so, and the experience has been really smooth. And while on that topic, let me tell you a bit more about these headphones. For disclosure, Soundcore by Anker did send me a pair to try it out, and after about a month of use, I have been pleasantly surprised by the sound and noise cancelling quality of these headphones, given their very reasonable price. As I just mentioned, they have very good adaptive noise cancelling that removes about 98% of the background noise. When you do need to hear the outside world, like when you're running outside or working out, they have a very customizable transparency mode as well. And as someone who listens to music literally all the time, I appreciate that the Soundcore Space Q45 also supports high-res audio both in wired and wireless modes. It can also connect up to 2 devices at the same time, so you can switch pretty effortlessly between your laptop and your phone. It also has 2 mics built in that work with their AI-enhanced call technology to deliver excellent call quality. And best yet, on top of all these awesome features, they deliver up to 50 hours of playtime with the charging case. So if you're looking for a pair of affordable headphones that are super comfortable, have great sound quality and noise cancelling, along with excellent battery life, definitely check out Soundcore by Anker Space Q45. Link will be in the description below. So moving on, while I did not have compatibility issues with hardware, I did have some stability issues. I've had a handful of occasions where my MacBook Pro has either frozen completely or the OS has restarted abruptly. And if I recall correctly, almost all of them have been where I've plugged in peripherals. For example, I upgraded my audio interface from a Focusrite Scarlett 4i4 to Universal Audio's Apollo Solo, and I had a difficult time to get it to work properly with the MacBook Pro 14. Even though my audio interface is a Thunderbolt 3 version designed for the Mac. I had to install the drivers multiple times, and even right now it occasionally does not recognize the audio interface and reverts back to the built-in version, and also sometimes crashes completely. I've also had issues where if I plug in my Keychron K2 keyboard, the MacBook Pro completely rejects it, saying that it's using too much power and disables all the USB ports until I unplug it. However, the keyboard works just fine with any other laptop I have. Obviously, there's no way for me to pinpoint whether the issue is on the Apple end or with the devices themselves. But in any case, I think you can still expect some stability issues if you plan on using external hardware. That being said, all in all, would I still recommend the 14-inch M1 MacBook Pro or any future follow-ups like M2 or M3 chips that are based on Apple Silicon? Yes, I would. Because the positives for me outweigh the negatives of using a newer chip by far. The performance and battery life are still exceptional. Yes, there are some minor stability and compatibility issues, but I think those exist mainly for less common hardware or very specific development scenarios, and you can easily work around them. Well, that's it for today. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And while you're here, check out some of these other videos that I think you'll enjoy as well. Thanks for stopping by and staying till the end. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.